Welcome to PunditsViews. It looks like a little day, but this is a pre-recorded version. And my guest, and this is one of my favorites. See, on Twitter, I always am doing these tweets of his. He's always bringing up what is going on with sports right now and the world of business. And he's one of my favorite tweets right at this moment. His name is Andrew Petcash. He is the founder of Profluence. How you doing?
Jacob, what's up, brother? I appreciate you having me on and the kind words to get this started.
Oh, no problem. It's like you are always my favorite. As much as I tweet and everything, you're always one of my favorites. I like learning this stuff from you.
Appreciate it. That's what I like to hear.
Oh, absolutely. Now, the thing is, explain Profluence. You are the founder of Profluence. Explain this. Explain what it does.
Yeah, for sure. So 2 years ago, I was playing basketball at Boston University, graduate. I actually have an option for a fifth year. NIL comes around, and it's either come back for a fifth year, do NIL, go to Europe and play, or build my own company and kind of base it around that. So I started building out a media platform, and then taking on consulting clients, advising, helping with all things NIL. Then athletes started coming in, started helping them with stuff, and now it's kind of developed into this full-scale agency / consulting / media company. There's a lot of verticals, trying to actually this year kind of confine it in and figure out what the heck I'm actually doing, just instead of all these, projects and verticals and, jumping from call to call and all this craziness going on every day.
And what kind of consultation are you doing? What kind of consulting in your business?
Yeah, there's a bunch of different variants of it, but number one, obviously I'm pretty good, at least in my opinion, of building out a media platform. So coming into companies and showing them the value of, you need to grow your personal brand. You need to have a newsletter here. There's all these channels. Here's how you can use short form video content, all that stuff. Then there's the NIL component that's played massively into it. Of coming into companies, we did one of the first NIL deals with the company, and a California kid got him $2 million basically in free press and publicity. They raised money on it. And then some of the third angles, I have relationships with a bunch of agencies and business partners of athletes. So bringing whether NBA players or NFL players onto cap tables. There's a lot that goes into it, but those are kind of the three main verticals to help them grow, succeed, raise money, whatever they're trying to do and accomplish.
Okay, that's good. And one of the questions I've always had, this is with athletes. I want to ask an athlete that you were at Boston University, correct?
Yeah. That's correct.
Now, one of the questions I like to ask athletes. Now, I had an athlete in this, one of my immediate, I would say cousins and stuff like that, who's a really good ball player. And he played since he was 4 or 5 years old. He was a good basketball player himself, but he played through high school and decided, I'm going to go to University of Kansas and just play intramurals and just go do my thing, do business. Well, here and there, he's done good in life. But the one thing I want to ask is how does an athlete know? Like you were saying, you had a thing, you can go play Europe, or you could take the fifth year or become business. Now, how does one know overall when it's done? Like when they don't want to go any farther, how difficult be? How do they know?
Yeah, it's a great question. And the problem with it is most of us don't know. The problem is we have this confidence around us, and to get to Division I basketball is a very low percentage chance even. So playing at that level, everyone there thinks not only are they the best player, but that they should be going to the NBA too. But even in the college space, only 1% of those guys will go to the NBA. And then it's a couple percent will go play in Europe. So you really have to self-reflect. You got to talk to people, talk to agents, talk to your coaches, and get a unbiased opinion, because your family, friends, they're all telling you the best. If you're not playing, they're telling you should. They're telling you, hey, you could somehow make the NBA or Europe, all this. And then really just follow your passions. So for me, it was I really like the business side of things. I started YouTube channels in high school that were, doing well. I built a college recruiting type business on the side while in college, and then I actually sold that to get extra cash flow to build Profluence at the start. So I kind of knew basketball it was only gonna take me too far, and I wasn't gonna get the big paychecks from that. So for me, it was easy, but for most people, they struggle, and not only that, they struggle for years after. But that's also the benefit of NIL, where some of these guys, at least they'll end their careers, say maybe they really want to go to the NFL. But at least they ended college and maybe they have $50,000 in their bank account. And maybe they can go get a job, but they have that $50,000 that they can put into a side hustle and try to build a media business or try to start their own business, whatever it is. So they have some leeway and backup plans and ability to not just start from zero. So that's one of the major benefits of NIL that I like as well.
And you were talking about you had YouTube channels. What was your YouTube channels like?
Yeah, that's funny. The first one, so I actually created two. The first one was NBA highlights. So I would just like clip up, players I liked and put it in. And I had some videos get like 5 million views, but there was no real path to monetization because all of the clips were copyright from the NBA. So it was like cool, but I was like, this doesn't work. So then I actually started doing like meditation videos because I was seeing people making all this money just like reposting meditations and calm noises, and I was doing decent with it, but it was more so just learning how to navigate media. I started negotiating some brand deals for some stuff. Started, just playing around with social media, and it was a great experience, and it kind of led to now. And people always ask me, how do you know how to do what you do? And I think it wasn't really a 2-year process. It was like an 8-year process because when I was 16, I was playing around with little things and I had no clue what I was doing, but it made things now much easier and the learning curve much smaller.
Oh, absolutely. And you're talking about all of like the basketball videos and stuff like that, what you're doing. Now, I can tell you, you were ahead of your game with that. And it's because I see, and my old hero is Larry Bird.
Yeah.
And the people that are on the sideline know this. But it's like, my old hero is Larry Bird. And I see one guy doing nothing but Larry Bird videos all day. And it's just fun, which was fun for I don't see him as much anymore, but which was fun for my old self that really enjoyed him. And this guy, Larry Bird, gets enormous amount of views. I think it's just because this generation, it's like this hick from a really, really small town doing all these moves and he can't jump. I think it's kind of like a circus.
Yeah.
All the stuff he can do.
Yeah, he's a legend. My dad always says that was one of his favorite players. He was a Celtics fan because of Larry. And it'll be interesting to see kind of who those players are for like when I'm older and my kids, like who they look up to that I grew up watching. I'm sure it'll be the Kobe's and LeBrons, but it'll be interesting to see like the random ones because social media will have such an impact on some players that they might not have been as good. Back in Larry Bird's time, you have to be the best player and no one knows who you are. But today, you can just be a really good entertainer and have a personality, and you can get really big but not actually be as talented. And that's a major change in sports over the last really 10 years.
Well, yeah, and you're absolutely correct on that. And also the fact that he would have made it there because he was the biggest trash talker, which that's another part of entertainment.
Oh, yeah.
Now, what got you into, now go to another subject, what got you into sports and business? So did you like watch Broke, the 30 for 30, and then it's like decide I need to get more into this? Did you know about some of the rare people of the day who got big into business before the other ones went broke? How did you get into this?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it really started with, number one, I love sports. Number two, my degree and all my mentors come from the business world. My dad owns his own business. Some of my other mentors own a bunch of real estate, all that. So I always had that sense of like, own your own thing, have equity upside. But I started reading books in college, and then really my teammates started asking me stuff. And I just started explaining it using athletes. And that's kind of where it all stemmed from. Of like, well, how do you teach someone in sports about investing or business? Well, it's easiest to use it. Hey, here's a Magic Johnson example, or here's a LeBron James example, and then things really start to click. So I found I learned the best that way. You might as well go like portray it out there, and you just start putting content, and it just kind of spirals, and you see what people like, and that's kind of where it stemmed from. To be honest, I just love sports and I love business, and why not just do both of them together?
And I was bringing up the name. You know about Junior Bridgman, right?
Yeah.
Junior Bridge. So that's what I was bringing up. Is like, would a Junior Bridge? This is a hypothetical because we don't know. He's also in his 70s and everything now too. So would you think that because he did not have the same people around him, it was such a rarity after the game was over that someone didn't become a coach or they got into business. It was such a rare time. So do you think he just got it through the same way that you did, reading books, doing all that stuff, or always was interested? Or how do you think he got it, considering there wasn't the technology of now?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a ton of variance, but I mean, luck plays into everything too that people forget. If you ever read like Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, it makes you realize like even really successful people, there might be just something small. So you never want to take that, but it's about putting yourself in the right positions. And I think it's all about the people around you. So for me, like, I'm more curious I have great relationships with people that are 50 and 60 years old because I'm like, I want to learn from you. I want to do what you did. And so it's like really being able to explore and find those people that you can trust and take you in. And I've been lucky to have a bunch of those people where they've done, incredible things throughout their career. and I make them feel young again and energize them. And, you know, I have flaws of stuff I don't know, but it's like they can teach, but also, you know, be a part of this. And a lot of these people, actually, my mentors, are from other they're from other industries, not even sports, but everyone loves sports. So it brings it all together. And now that sports is growing so much and there's so much money going into it, and there's so much cool things that's going to happen over the next decade even. It's a great place to be.
I understand. See, I'll have to say this. There was a family. I didn't exact. I've always loved sports, so I didn't take away from it. But I used to be obsessed, like when I was a kid. I took a little bit of time away from obsession to learn a lot of other things just around my life. And I had some family like, what are you doing? Because you get into the sales world. And they don't want to talk politics. They don't want to talk philosophy. Right. That's okay. What's the game tonight? Let's bet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
See, these are the things that I could go after. So what was I doing? But see, my main thing was just I want to learn different stuff. Now, I'm never going to be president of the United States, but I've got a basic idea. It's just I'm happy. But I get the point of what my family was saying now, though. It's like that there are just business people all over the place. They want the front court seat. Mm-hmm. You know, they want to be able to be behind the dugout at the baseball game. You know, they're all sports all the time. They were athletes.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I even see the Golden State Warriors. They're an interesting case study just because all those guys are some of the best business, like the athlete investors. But it's like they're right in Silicon Valley. All the people that come sit courtside at their games are tech CEOs and executives. So it's like they have a massive advantage from that standpoint. But yeah, it's the collision of sports and business and investing is really taking off right now. And NIL, name, image, and likeness, is a huge piece of why that is. Because it's not just about the 25-year-old pro starting quarterback. It's the 16-year-old golfer that has 500,000 social media followers. They're just as valuable now. And it's creating a lot of weird dynamics, and it's honestly fun to see play out.
Well, yeah, you said 16-year-old, and there's also Paige Spearneck, who she's big on Twitter and she's big on like Facebook and stuff. But she's gonna take advantage too. Mm-hmm. For money by itself. There'll be more opportunities, even if it's not name, image, likeness in a certain way. But now your tweets that I get interested in, and I always go into our network, Sideline Sports and everything. Yeah, I always copy it to them. Are these people like you talk about Steph Curry's? How do you get all the information?
Yeah, it's not easy. Like what comes out at the end product as a Twitter thread or a tweet is, you know, hours of research and a lot of learning, sometimes insider information from people that are willing to give me stuff, sometimes just really searching through whatever it is, you know, looking through the internet to find stuff. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. They're certainly not what you see at the end is a much simplified version of what, you know, there's a lot of info you got to digest. And they're not easy, but that's what makes them good. And that's what I try to do. And it's what I like doing. So I'm willing to, you know, put the time into it.
Absolutely. And now you brought up John Elway in one of yours, which I had found. Now, this is the thing about John Elway. One of the stories I'd heard way back when was he'd had a pool table. Someone finally beat him after like 50 billion straight or whatever, and he sold it right afterwards. Because he was that competitive. Does it take that kind of competitiveness to truly be that successful in business? Or do you have to have failures? How does this usually work with these athletes?
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes it's their greatest advantage and sometimes it's their greatest demise because we just have as athletes this confidence that we're the best at what we do, whatever it is. And you get that from sports because you have to have that to get to the next level, to believe and get over adversity. And so when you get into business, you believe you're going to do the same thing. But sometimes there's dynamics or there's blind spots or there's certain things you don't account for. And that's where you see some of these problems come in. And short-term cash or short-term thinking with, you know, you want short-term cash is usually what hurts athletes the most. Instead of thinking of the big picture, the long-term play, they either take cash from something they shouldn't or, you know, it's really just they're trying to get rich quick when they already make a ton of money. So we're seeing a good shift now of guys actually going, no, I don't want to just do endorsements. I want partnerships. I mean, it's really the same thing, but now they're like saying, okay, it's a long-term view. This is a company I really want to get behind. And it's paying dividends across the space.
I was going to say, I brought this one earlier. Do you think Broke did a big thing, gave a really big help to a lot of these athletes to be able, because we're seeing more and more athletes. I mean, you can see Harden, you beat KD, LeBron. you can go over and over and over with the names, even lesser names are getting. Do you think that had anything to do with it truly, or do you think there's just been a change?
Yeah, I think it helped. I mean, any publicity to go and say, hey, there's problems here. And I don't think it so much helped the athletes directly. I think it helped the people in their circle and financial advisors and their, tax people and accountants and even their agents to go, wait a second here, there's a problem. Why is this so transactional? And this is a problem with the athletic system, is a lot of the times the agencies, whoever, they're making money while the athlete's still playing. But as soon as the athlete's done, they all just go, we're done with you. You can't add us any more value. So the athletes are just left there they have everyone helping them, and then there's nothing there. They're all by themselves, and they don't know what to do. Because, you're making money that takes most people their whole life to make, and they're making it in a very short time frame at a very young age. And so documentaries like that helped actually all the people, like even like myself, now come in and be like, okay, there's a problem. We need to educate through social media, through personal relationships, and make sure that we're actually building relationships with these athletes that last beyond just their playing days. And I think that was a major shift. So yeah, Broke did it, and it was just a small piece of a much larger puzzle that was being solved.
I used to say about NIL, I see one of the things about it is we talk about a lot of things on my show, Pundits Pundit. It's our show, as the architect of it. The idea of Pundits Pundit is sort of a outside the lines, a little more advanced version without the production value. You know what I mean? And it's the idea of things that people won't talk about. The other week we talked about Damar Hamlin, and then with Damar Hamlin, we were also talking about the NFL, the bonus structure and pay, and we find out, and you know this by now, you consider you working the money, that he got. They finally paid him for the rest of the year. They paid for the rest of the year, but people on IR can have cut in half.
Yeah.
They have wages cut in half. They have, and now since you know a lot of this stuff and you were around different pros and you know that stuff, since we brought this up, I brought up what I knew, and all of us talked about what we knew on Pundits Pundit. But one of the things is go into a specific, as much as you can, a specific contract, sports contract. Let's just say NFL, like say for Damar Hamlin and stuff like that, that makes it, that it makes it completely against, that's against them, that goes against them.
Yeah, the hardest part about NFL contracts are most of them aren't guaranteed money. So you can sign a contract, but like you said, if you get hurt, that money just disappears. And the other part that really hurts them that most people don't know is there's two things. Number one, there's the jock tax. So wherever they play, they're paying extra taxes on, which is why guys hate playing in California and high tax states. But is the point that they only get paid during the season and they get paid every week. So they might get a $50,000 check after playing a game and they go and spend all that, but your spending's only 16, 17 weeks out of the year that you're getting money in. And so, you have all these months where no money's coming in the door if you're not getting endorsements and other stuff. So some of the lower tier players really get hurt because they have this huge gap of months without any cash flow coming in. And a lot of them will spend that money during the season. And, they go buy their mom a car and they do all this stuff. And then tax season rolls around and they don't have the money to pay their taxes because they spent all of it because they didn't understand it. And that's where a lot of the problems came from. And it's starting to get cleaned up a little bit. And there's politics all throughout it. And there's problems with organizations. But I truly believe it's starting to get changed, like for the better. And people are like, all right, we've taken advantage. These people make us billions of dollars, meaning athletes. We should at least care for them while they're playing and after. And the contracts are a big piece of it. So hopefully more guaranteed contracts going forward.
Absolutely. And one of the things too is we brought this up in its collective bargaining agreement. And it's the collective bargaining agreement. I was reading up on some of the part with the collective bargaining agreement, and it feels like the pensions get lower. Feels like the pension's getting lower. Everything is going on. It's like, it feels like that the NFL, we'll give you this, but we're cutting this out. And it's like, really, is there going to be a time when the players finally win? When the players finally win that, because it feels like they cut something out, slice everything out, like after every CBA.
Yeah, it's hard to know. It's a big business. I think the players are getting more say as they're making more and more money than ever before, and they have social media influence, so they can go and they got to be smart, but they can say what they feel and, they believe on social media, and millions of people will see it. So they're getting more and more power and influence, and it's, working in their benefit, in their favor. When the NBA, they have a media contract deal, it's either next year or the year after expiring. I mean, this is going to be a $75 billion media deal that the NBA is going to sign. Well, Steph Curry, he's making like 50 mil this year. He'll be making 70 mil a year when that next agreement comes up. But the problem is the cream of the crop, like the top players are getting so much money. And then you look at like Steph Curry, and then you look at the 12th man on that NBA roster. There's just such a big gap. So but the top players run the leagues, and they are the ones that bring in all the eyeballs. So there's always going to be issues. It's never going to be perfect. But the players are definitely getting the benefit of the doubt of late, which is good. And we saw that in the MLB, especially the minor league baseball.
Absolutely. That's what we talked about on our show also, like on Pundit also, is the fact that it was $11,000 a year for A and AA, and like 13 for triple. I know very well the Cubs actually built the dorms. They actually did a rebuild of the dorms that look like really nice apartments now. I did see that. But then you've got Artie Moreno over in Los Angeles, who's really cheap still. He's going to lose Ohtani. He'll lose him.
Hey, don't get me started. I'm a Pirates fan, so we don't spend more than like a few $1,000,000. So it's way worse over here. Every good player gets shipped off, and then they're the next star for the Yankees or Mets, whoever.
You live in Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
Well, it's understood there. It's one of the things you bring up is you said it's all on social media, so it makes it. But the question I have is how many you get people on social media. If they're not bots, they're people with no understanding. Now this is the thing I want to ask. It's like, because a lot of people think, oh, making $1 million a year. I've never seen that in my life. But you talked about the cars that they'll buy their parents, and you got to realize that if they would buy the car, heck, with stacks of cash, they'd be better off for them. Instead, they lease it. And then remember what you said, they don't have the taxes, and then everything caves in. Look at the amount of bankruptcies you get.
Yeah.
But that's what a lot of people don't understand with money by itself. So how do we make the crowds understand? Because crowds will keep saying, oh, they're millionaires, they're this, they're that. And what are they going to understand? How are they going to understand if they don't want to listen?
Yeah, I started doing some posts recently, just looking at, I did one of the first ones. I'm going to do more on Aaron Rodgers, and he made like 42 mil. But when you really break it up, he's going to walk away with 15 mil about. So, I mean, he's losing 60, 70% of his money before you even start to get into his expenses. And that's from taxes. That's from paying agents, advisors, all this stuff. So just portraying that. But I just think generally it's a society problem. I don't think it's just athletes. I think most people just have no clue about money. And you just hope that you have people in your family that know about it and can teach you, or you learn the hard way. Or if you're ambitious and you want to figure it out, and you just, you go on YouTube. So there's more avenues to get educated. But I think the problem is actually a society problem of like our school systems and all this. They don't teach you. They don't want you to know how to manage money. They want you to lose it. They want you to spend on stupid consumer stuff, and they want you to get in debt and all this. So it's really a society problem, which is, one of the benefits, but also the demises of capitalism. Because there's just a lot of variance of like you're making money, and sometimes of that making money that is good as a whole hurts some people that don't understand it.
Oh, absolutely. And you brought up a good point on that, because the one thing I always say with people will talk about the economic philosophies between a capitalism and like a socialism. That I always say this, and it's the simplest way that you can say it. The difference between a capitalism and socialism, when you run out of money, you got to remember capitalism still invests its way back.
Right.
Capitalism runs out because it's all spend, and then it's borrow and spend, where you can invest your way back. It's right. The difference. They both have their crooks. They both have their flaws. But there's one big reason is the investment. The reason that capitalism works. But yeah, they all have their flaws.
Yeah.
So what overall, are you looking to take do you think overall, say the next 5 to 10 years, you'll take like Profluence and go bigger, like move to a New York or a Los Angeles or any of that stuff? Do you think you'll, just like you did with your YouTube videos, your meditation, all that, you think you'll sell and make another company?
I don't know where I'm headed, to be honest. I like what I'm doing right now. I'm working with a lot of cool companies. I get to put out great content and cool stuff on social media, whether it's Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. And working with a lot of cool people and doing cool projects as well, kind of on the side. So I'm having fun, and we'll kind of see. Like Profluence and me are kind of the same thing right now. I have some freelancers that help me out with some work, but I don't know what it looks like. I got to continue to think about it. And like I said, over this next year, I'm really going to hone in on what I actually like doing, don't like, and figure out what that looks like.
Right. The really, and you were talking about. Let's go back to the NBA for a second. You talked about your that there are Silicon Valley people in the front rows now. You know, and there's it's also is that the era? You think that's the era of Jack Nicholson being in the front row really is over with, and it's like, and it's more the people that their investment with, their friends that get them, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a mix still. I mean, I don't know. I mean, tech executives, I think we're going to see more of it. The one of the big divides is all these people want the athletes now, right? Like they know they can help them so much, but the athletes don't obviously always understand or know who to trust. So there's a divide there. And then the tech people, a lot of them, some of them, like you said, the CEOs have athletic backgrounds, but a lot of them don't really understand athletes, especially the more technical ones, and they don't know how they operate and talk and how they do things. And so sometimes there's this like big divide of like it's such a difference. And I think it's shrinking, and it's actually not like the tech people understanding the athletes better. I think it's the athletes understanding how to, leverage and work alongside the tech people and how their language works and how they do business and what they think about and like and don't like.
Now, bringing another thing to bring up, FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried.
Mm-hmm.
Now, really overall, I want to know from a financial guy like yourself, the idea of the crypto. It's almost investing nothing to get to nothing to get back and hope it comes to something. How does that get so popular? Especially when FTX was Miami Heat before it became the arena again. How did a place like FTX, when there was really, to me personally, and I'm just saying this, I don't think SBF even has $100,000 that they said in the media. I don't think he has any real money, and that was the whole thing. How did this get so popular?
I mean, I think we could go on for hours about this. Just it's a fascinating concept, but I mean, I think there was money laundering going on. I think there's political corruption in it, and then obviously they used athletes and suckered the public into believing, oh, it's legit when you see Tom Brady promoting it and Steph Curry and Shaq and all these guys. And that's why we're saying it's important for these athletes to have people around them that trust them. But the thing is, FTX didn't just fool the athletes. They fooled, billions of dollars in funding from big investment firms. They might have fooled politicians. Like, I don't know. I think there's a much bigger play at stake, and it's unfortunate. And, who gets hurt at the end of the day the most? Regular consumers and retail investors. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Do you think overall that you got to realize that we saw in those ads everybody over 40 years old, everybody like Tom Brady, Shaq, you got all those. You think those were one? Do you think that the way that they sold them on that is this is for the young, this is for the youth? Because I don't see any youth on these ads. That's my point. I always see the ones that it's like you want to go back to your youth.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think it's just a classic like get rich quick type thing. That's what we saw with NFTs and crypto, where it was like people coming in and they're making. I met a guy in New York once, and he started a new company, but I was like, well, how'd you come into all your money? And he invested in a crypto coin at like 0.01 cents. Basically from insider type information, and it went up to $2, and he turned basically his life savings into millions of dollars. But it's like there was no real actual value. It was just all speculation, and it was all really just a Ponzi, and it was just waiting to fall and collapse. And I think we started to see that, but I think the actual underlying technology and tech of Web3, of really blockchain, has some real merit, and I think we'll start to see more of that come into fruition as all the bad actors get pushed out, and then the real case studies and the people really building show up and come to light over the next 5 years.
So you think that crypto still gets popular even with the way? Because I was wondering how much it would or has a chance of ending with the way the SBF did it, with the way that FTX went down. But I just wonder, and I want to get your opinion on this. Do you think it still goes back up anyway? Because you think that the society is looking for, what's a good word of saying this? The society is looking for a new currency, something new out there, something that's, because remember, they're talking about trying to get rid of cash, the dollar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, good question. It's another just really a deep topic and deep debate, but I mean, there's a big problem with our money system, obviously. I mean, you saw it over the last few years when you so we pay taxes, but you go and can just print money, trillions of dollars in thin air, then why are we paying taxes, right? If you're just going to print it. Yeah. And so I think like Bitcoin and some of these cryptos are kind of the, solution or the savior of the money currency. If there's only so much and it's digital, but then you bring in like CBDC, central bank digital currencies, and then it kind of gets scary. And obviously there's parts of America, especially more in poverty areas, where the whole cities are kind of run on cash. Like there's a lot of dynamics and factors that I'd love to go into and I think are super interesting. But to answer that up front, yeah, I mean, it's I do think people are just looking for something, because we all see that our current system, monetary system, has a lot of flaws in it.
And I got one more question, and then we got to jump. And I know you're busy and everything, but how long do you think you study? What did you study at Boston, by the way?
I studied finance, and then I had extra time being an athlete, so I did some commercial real estate stuff as well.
And how long do you think before we see, I got 6 $1 bills in my pocket now. How long do you think before we see dollars go away, or do you think it ever will?
Whew, yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, I don't use much cash. Most of my friends don't use much cash. It's all Venmo me this, use your credit card here, Apple Pay this. I would say probably, I don't know how long cash will circulate. It's going to hurt a lot of small businesses. I think we still need it, but I don't know. I think it will go away in my lifetime at least.
Well, it's short-term murdered a lot of it. I was remembering when India had their issue with their cash dollar, with their dollar. I think the rupee, they had their issue because they got rid of certain smaller ones to have bigger ones, and it killed the market, killed the market short term. So those are the things I know. But anyway, with that said, it has been awesome, and I've been looking to have you for a while, and I know you're busy. So I very much appreciate you, Andrew. Where do we find you? What are your stuff that you normally do?
For sure. Yeah, you can find me at Andrew Pekash on all the social media channels, and then also profluence.com. My website has a bunch of stuff as well. And feel free to reach out, email me, anything. Try to get back to everyone. We'll see how much longer I'm able to do that. But in the meantime, I'm still doing it for everyone.
No problem. Well, Andrew, thank you very much. It's been a great interview, and I will be continuing to follow you on Twitter and following all your stuff. And that's awesome.
Appreciate it, Jacob. Really, really thank you for having me on. Love what you guys are building as well.
Take care of yourself.
Yep. Bye-bye.